Greeting adventurers and well met. Master of Dungeons here on the Master of Dungeons Twitch channel, twitch.tv/the Master of Dungeons. Tavern Talks at the Shifty Boar Wednesday evenings, discussing things Dungeons and Dragons, world's greatest role-playing game. We have been discussing the latest, I should say, playtest material for One D&D, the new updates that are going to be backwards compatible with 5th edition, that are going to be released next year. I believe starting in the spring, maybe early summer, late spring, with the updates from all of the main books, the Player's Handbook, the Monster Manual, and the Dungeon Master's Guide. We've been going over, last week we went through most of the Hunter, or most of the Ranger, I should say, and I think we left off with the Hunter. I did have down on my notes, we left off on page 47. Here we are on page 47. I think we finished up with the Gloomstalker Ranger. And had not had a chance to discuss the Hunter, and of course we'll go into the Rogue shortly after that. So yeah, let's get into it. If you want to playtest this material, you can find it on D&D Beyond. You can find it on the Wizards of the Coast website. You can also join my Master of Dungeons Discord community. There's a link below here on Twitch. In the About Us section, just click on the Discord panel. That will give you an invite there. And I have all of the relevant material for all the playtest material and all of the Adventurers League stuff, all pretty much in one place. Just make sure to, when you pick your roles, follow D&D News, and you'll be able to have access to the playtest material as well. If you want to playtest it, be sure to use the 2014 Player's Handbook for playtesting and replace any rules that are in here. Replace those from the Player's Handbook to use this for playtest materials. So it says Hunter's Prey for the Hunter subclass of the Ranger. Now contains 3 feature options that appeared in 2014. Giant Killer has been renamed to Retaliator. Now works with attackers of any size. We might have gone over, some of this might seem a little familiar. We might have gone over it last week. It's been a very, very long week, so we're just going to go over it one more time again just in case. Defensive Tactics returns, but it contains evasion and uncanny dodge from Superior Hunter's Defense. New option, Hunter's Leap. Superior Hunter's Prey replaces multi-attack and lets you choose another option from Hunter's Prey. I don't like the idea of getting rid of multi-attack, but... maybe maybe that's something different. I'm thinking extra attack. Never mind. That's from regular Hunter. So you can get a different option from Hunter's Prey, and then Hunter's Defense now let you choose another option from Defensive Tactics. Hunter's Prey, you give one of the following options of your choice, very similar to the Hunter before, Colossus Slayer. When you hit a creature with a weapon, the weapon deals extra D8 damage if the target is missing any of its hit points. You can deal this extra damage once per turn. Hordebreaker, once on each of your turns when you make an attack with a weapon, you can make another attack with the same weapon against a different creature that is within 5 feet of the original target. That is within the weapon's range, and that you haven't attacked yet this turn. So this is still part of that same thing. It doesn't use a bonus action. That's still pretty cool. Immediately, the Retaliator, that was the old Giant Slayer. Immediately after you attack a creature immediately after a creature within 5 feet of you attacks you, you can use your reaction to make one attack with a weapon against that creature, whether or not it hit you. That's pretty cool. So that is your Hunter's Prey. So Superior Hunter's Prey allows you to take a second option from there. Hunter's Lore, you can call on the forces of nature to reveal certain strengths and weaknesses of your prey. While a creature is marked by your Hunter's Mark, you know whether that creature has any damage or condition immunities, damage resistances, or damage vulnerabilities. And if they are a creature, you know what type of creature they are. Oh, I'm sorry, and if the creature has any, you know what they are. Okay, cool. Defensive Tactics, get one of the following features of your choice. Evasion. Uncanny Dodge, both of those rogue abilities. And then the new one they added was Hunter's Leap. If an enemy you can see enters a space within 5 feet of you, you can use your reaction to move up to half your speed without provoking opportunity attacks. That's very similar to the Scout's ability. But I think the Scout said that when the creature ends its movement. In this one, they've actually changed the wording, which is nice to clarify it. Keep in mind, if something moves, it's got to completely basically end its turn to end its movement, or unless it reaches its movement maximum. So this Hunter's Leap says if it enters a space within 5 feet of you, so the 8 squares around you. Then you can use your action immediately to move up to half your speed without provoking opportunity attacks. Now you can move away half your speed away from it, but of course if it still has any remaining movement, it can still move to you. Superior Hunter's Prey, you get a choice, another feature option from Hunter's Prey feature up there at the top. And then Superior Hunter's Defense, you get another defensive action tactic. That's pretty cool. I like that a lot. Fairly simple, straightforward. Definitely look forward to playing a Hunter in the new edition, or I should say updated edition, when it comes out. All right, on to Rogues. I've heard a lot of chatter on the Discord and some of the other group chats about taking away a lot of stuff from the Rogue. It's going to be interesting to see what they've changed around. So we did see some updates from, or some Rogue things from the previous playtest material. Obviously, they've updated it from feedback from the players. So here are the main updates from this class since the last playtest version. Sneak attack is no longer required to be used on your turn with the attack action. The rogues are going to get weapon mastery now. Interesting. The rogue levels now match the level progression in 2014. Yes, that's what we were talking about the past few weeks of the inconsistency. They really need to make sure that the subclass, when they get certain abilities, they match the exact same levels that they did for the 2014 Player's Handbook. That way, all of the classes are compatible, and you're not getting something at a different level than you would if you're playing a different subclass. Steady Aim is now a third level feature, important for Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. This was an edition. This edition was requested by many playtesters. Yeah, a lot of the stuff from Tasha's should be definitely added in there. And Cunning Strikes is a new 5th level feature, giving tactical options to sneak attack. Not really sure rogues need weapon mastery, but we'll see. Again, this is all playtest material. Pretty much the same. Reliable Talent is now 7th level instead of 10th. Interesting. I think it was 10th level. Let's see how many SIs they get still. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Yep, they're still getting a little bit more than the other classes, which is the fighter always has the most in 5th edition, the rogue next, and then everybody else gets. All the other classes were the same. One stroke of luck. Okay, let's see what they. Oh, here's some more expertise. Return to 6th level. Evasion return to 7th level. Oh, it's 11th level was Reliable Talent. Improved Cunning Strike is a new 11th level feature. Devious Strikes, new 14th level feature. Elusive return to 18th level. Give me the Epic Boon feats. I think what they should probably do with the Epic Boon feats is that, since they don't, like in the older editions, they had different high level rules. Like they had in 3rd edition, they had the epic level rule book and things. You had even with the box sets of basic, expert, companion, masters, and immortals, you had higher level stuff outside of 20. And I think what they're probably going to do with the epic boon feats is most likely when you would gain enough XP, because once you get to 20th level, there's options in the DMG for the Dungeon Master to give more different abilities, boons, blessings, things like that to higher level characters. And it was basically however much XP it takes to get. I think it's maybe 100,000 XP, or milestones if you prefer using milestones. You would be considered to go to 21st level, but you really don't. You're still at 20th level. But that's probably going to be a situations when you do gain a level, you can select an epic boon or an epic feat, an epic boon feat, most likely. Probably something like that. Okay, so creating a rogue, hit points are the same, still int and dex. Martial weapons that have the finesse property, that's pretty cool, instead of just specifically naming out, a bunch of different random weapons, thieves' tools, armor training light, starting equipment, pretty much the same. Of course, they have the multi-classing rules here. Those, of course, are in the 2014 Player's Handbook right after your equipment and feats. All right, see what these are. You gain expertise in 2 of your skills of your choice. Sleight of hand and stealth are iconic choices for a rogue. I usually go with stealth and thieves' tools myself, and then add sleight of hand maybe when you get to next expertise. So once per turn, you can do your sneak attack if you're attacking with a finesse or ranged weapon, and if at least one of the following requirements is met. You have advantage on the attack roll, so you don't have to have a finesse or a ranged weapon for sneak attack if you have advantage on the attack roll. At least one of your allies within 5 feet of the target, and the ally doesn't have that incapacitated condition, and you don't have disadvantage on the roll. That was something that was a little bit different from the swashbuckler that had a different ability. Determine your extra damage, roll a number of d6 equal to half your rogue level, rounded up, and add the dice together. The rogue table shows the number of sneak attack dice you get at each rogue level. The extra damage type is the same type as the weapons damage type. So let's double check and take a look at that list here. Yep. Nice. See, that would be something that would be interesting for them to do, because as we talked about the paladins previously, since we looked at the paladins and such before the rangers and everything, they took away the divine smites where you spend your spell slots, and you are giving you the smite spells instead. The problem with the smite spells is they really need to change them a little bit, because most of the time, unless you needed a specific thing, like to make sure that they couldn't be go invisible, to make sure that do certain things. Some of the lower level smites just weren't as good. I mean, you could just spend that spell slot to get 2d8 extra damage. Would be very interesting to do for the paladin. Would be to give them something similar to the sneak attack of rogues, but for their divine smiting or whatever. And this is how many. Like, obviously, the rogues can do this every turn, but they only get the 1 attack unless they multi-class, but it's still not going to be a whole bunch of extra damage, depending on how many attacks they get. But maybe do it something like a paladin, where the paladin has a pool of dice that refreshes on a short rest that you can use for your divine smites without having to. You don't have to expend your spell slots or anything like that to do like a divine smites. As like a separate ability for paladins, and then eventually, like, you get up to 19th, 20th level as a paladin, you have 10d6 for your divine smites that you can use, and then of course have them refresh, and you can only spend so many a turn, something like that. I mean, just an idea, maybe something I might homebrew into one of the games. All right, sneak attack, thieves can't, of course. Oh, they also give you another language as well as thieves can't. After we finish long rest, you can change the weapon, so weapon mastery is pretty much the same. Sorry, I just got my hair cut before I came home here to start the stream. 2 kinds of weapons, of which you have proficiency. When you finish long rest, you can change those types. Kind of action, quickly thing on your turn. As bonus action, dash, disengage, or hide. Rogue subclass. Arcane trickster, assassin, swashbuckler, or thief. All right, cool. They did put this. Looks like the swashbuckler is in here. So we'll be able to take a look at the swashbuckler to see about that sneak attack thing with the disadvantage. I was actually speaking with my client game last night with the Dragonlance campaign about a supplement that I was considering working on, where the you don't actually pick a subclass when you get to a certain level. And of course, obviously, you'd have to look at some balancing acts with the different subclass abilities. Um, but to where you actually don't pick a subclass, you just, hey, when you get to this level, to third level, as a rogue, you pick a basically a subclass feature. So you could pick, like if you wanted to, you could pick the third level ability from Arcane Trickster, the third level ability from Assassin, or Swashbuckler, or Thief, and then when of course you get the next subclass ability, you pick a different ability from all the different available subclasses as well. So I'm thinking about doing something like that for a homebrew type of situation. Just would give the players a lot more versatility in their characters and their builds and such. Obviously, if as a DM, if you wanted to use something like that, it would be completely under your control, because obviously one of the first things players are going to do is look for a way to break it. Steady aim from Tasha's. It'd be nice to have that, something like steady aim, even though it's introduced as a rogue's ability. It'd be something nice for a ranged ranger as well. But it's really more intent. I believe the intent of the feature is to give the rogue advantage so that they can get their sneak attack. Ability for improvement, ASI feat, or another feat. Alright, Cunning Strike. You develop cunning ways to use your sneak attack. When you deal sneak attack damage, you can add one of the following Cunning Strike effects. Each effect has a die cost, which is the number of sneak attack damage dice you must forego to add the effect. You remove the die before rolling, and the effect occurs immediately after the attack's damage is dealt. For example, if you add the poison effect, remove 1d6 from the sneak attack's damage before rolling. If a Cunning Strike effect requires a saving throw, it's your Dex mod plus DC 8 proficiency bonus like normal. Disarm. Poison. Oh, that's interesting. Trip. Or withdrawal. And can you dodge? You can use your reaction to have that attacks damage. Expertise in 2 of your skill proficiencies of your choice. Obviously, it would really be good for them to add in that you don't already have expertise in. Nimbly dodge all the way for evasion. Dexterity saving throw, take half. You can still take no damage if you succeed on the saving throw. Only half damage if you fail. Now keep in mind, this actually came into play last evening when we were playing. If something does so much damage and then also has a secondary effect, like they were fighting a Merid last night and it used its water jet and they failed their dex save, they took so much damage and then they were knocked prone, depending on where they would land. We had the rogue last night who failed the saving throw. So because he had evasion, he still only took half damage, but he still failed to save, so the secondary effect still applies. So that's something to keep in mind too. A reliable talent, I can't believe that's dropped down from 11th level to 7th level. That's pretty powerful. Now they did change reliable talent so that from the wording here, it looks as if it does not apply to your initiative anymore, because it would have to be one of your skill or tool proficiencies. So it's an ability check that uses one of your skill or tool proficiencies. It's not just any ability check. So you can't apply that to your initiative anymore. Ability score improvement. You gain the ability score improvement feat, of course. Subclass feature, another ASI. Improved cutting strikes. You can use up to 2 cutting strike effects when you deal sneak attack damage, paying the die cost for each effect. Another ASI. Subclass feature from the rogue subclass. Devious strikes. Alright, so again, taking away 2 dice 6 from your sneak attack, you can daze them. Oh, you can take away 6d6 and just knock them out. Ooh, that's going to be interesting. Or be blinded until the end of its next turn. Slippery Mind. Gain proficiency of Wisdom and Charisma saves. ASI, subclass feature, elusive. No attack roll can have advantage against you unless you have the incapacitated condition. ASI, and then Stroke of Luck. You have an uncanny knack for succeeding when you need to. If you fail a d20 test, you can turn that roll into a 20. I also think the d20 test, I'm not sure if that applies to your attack rolls. We'll double check that in the glossary here when we get to the glossary, just to make sure what the D, like if it's that just for like ability scores and saving throws. Obviously, maybe a death save even too. That'd be really nice because you could always get yourself back up with a rolling a 20 on your death save. If you happen to fail, you actually succeed. Get it back when you finish a short or long rest. All right, very cool. I like the Rogue is my favorite class in Dungeons and Dragons. Always has been. That doesn't look horrible to me. Let's check out these subclasses then. Not really sure what the complaints were about. I'm about to go back through and read some of the input to see exactly what they were complaining about. Of course, it's changing to Arcane list instead of Wizard. No School of Magic restriction after 3rd level. That's cool. They can change a cantrip from gaining a level. They can now use an arcane focus. Oh, cool. Gotcha. Okay. You know, 3 cantrips, Mage Hand, and 2 other cantrips of your choice from the arcane spell list. Whenever you gain a rogue level, you can replace one of your cantrips, except Mage Hand, with another cantrip of your choice from the arcane spell list. If you're 10th level of this class, you can learn another cantrip of your choice. So you can get up to 4. Nice. I really wish they would work on the language and come back to, I mean, it's not really that difficult to explain to newer players spells known and spells prepared. Like, for example, paladins, druids, clerics would always, even warlocks, I think. No, not warlocks. Would have access to, like, basically the divine list or the primal list. You would have access to all of those, and you just prepare your spells every day. Spells known are you only know so many specific spells. Like a sorcerer, you only know so many specific spells, and those are the spells that you know. You can cast any of the spells you know as long as you have spell slots for them. It's not really that difficult, and I really wish they would go back to that instead of trying to explain, okay, well, how come this class works differently and this class doesn't? I mean, it's because they're 2 different types of casters, and they need to, in my opinion at least, keep that separate. Choose 3 first level spells from the arcane list, 2 of which must be from the enchantment and illusion schools, and or illusion schools of magic. Well, that's what I should say, and or. So from what they're saying is two of which must be from enchantment and illusion schools. Okay. Increases you gain ruler levels to show the prepared spells column. So does that mean that they can just pick, like prepared spells 3, they can pick any 3 from the arcane list each morning? Okay, here's changing your prepared spells. When you ever gain a level in this class, you can replace one of the spells you know. See, right there, that's the whole known spells. Instead of just saying, keeping the old terminology. Tells you still spellcasting ability. Just arcane focus. Here's the list of their spells. Mage Hand Ledger Domain. 3rd level. Cast Mage Hand, you can make the spectral hand invisible. Control the hand as a bonus action instead of an action. And through it, you can use your Thieves' Tools and make dexterity sleight of hand checks. That's pretty much the same. Magical Ambush. If you have the invisible condition when you cast a spell on a creature, it has disadvantage on any saving throw it makes against the spell on the same turn. Versatile Trickster. So you gain the ability to distract targets with your Mage Hand. When you use the disarm or trip options of your cunning action or cunning strike, you can also target that option at a creature within 5 feet of the spectral hand that is invisible. Interesting. Spell Thief. You gain the ability to magically steal knowledge of how to cast a spell from another spellcaster. Immediately after a creature casts a spell that targets you or includes you in its area of effect, you can use your reaction to force the creature to make a saving throw with its spellcasting ability modifier. DC equals your spell save DC. On a failed save, you negate the spell's effect against you, and you steal the knowledge of the spell if it's at least 1st level and of a level you can cast. It doesn't need to be an arcane spell. For the next 8 hours, you know the spell and can cast it using your spell slots. The creature can't cast the spell until 8 hours have passed. Interesting. I think that's pretty similar to what it was before. Looks pretty cool. Definitely going to have to, Arcane Tricksters definitely going to have to keep track of where their mage hands are, using their bonus actions and such like that for their Versatile Trickster. But other than that, looks pretty cool. Again, don't like the whole using prepared spells, just spells you know. All right, Assassin, another rogue subclass. One of my favorites as well. Here are the main updates. Assassin now gives you advantage on initiative rolls. The extra damage of the feature no longer requires the target to be surprised. Infiltration Expertise. Combines Infiltration Expertise and the Imposter from the 2014 version. Okay. And Venom Weapons is a new 15th level feature allowing you to benefit from your Poisoner's Kit. Death Strike no longer requires the target to be surprised. It instead relies on your sneak attack. Okay. So Assassin, you get Disguise and Poisoner's Kit. And of course, the 3rd level, when you get the subclass, you get Assassinate. Have advantage on initiative rolls. During the first round of each combat, you have advantage on attack rolls against a creature that hasn't taken its turn yet. If your sneak attack hits any target during the round, the target takes extra damage of the weapon's type equal to your rogue level. So it's no longer considered a crit. And this is okay. But again, as we mentioned with some of the other subclasses, you get to certain levels and like there might be a paladin or a cleric ability that they would get in a subclass at ninth level that is way more powerful than the ninth level ability of an assassin. So that's where you're going to see a few people that kind of skip over certain subclasses because they don't really get as certain features at the certain subclasses when they get their certain features that aren't as powerful or as cool as other subclass features. Invented weapons. So if you use the poison option to give them the poison condition, they also take 2d6 poison damage whenever they fail to save. For that, I would almost say that they take the damage even if they don't fail to save, because there's some things where, like, what is it? Ray of Sickness, something like that, where they'll if it hits, they take the poison damage, and then they have to make a save to get to see if they get the poison condition. It might be better for this to say, well, they also take d6 poison damage or 2d6 poison damage regardless, without just as extra damage since the weapon's envenomed. But it does have ignore the resistance to poison damage. That's interesting. And then Death Strike. When you hit your sneak attack on the first round of combat, the target must succeed on a Constitution saving throw where the attack's damage is doubled against the target. So you're basically rolling your damage and then just doubling it instead of doubling the dice like for a crit. Interesting. Definitely takes away from the coolness of some of the abilities that an assassin has right now in 5th edition as it stands. So we'll see and try to keep monitoring on that for the upcoming newer playtest stuff. Should be coming out here anytime soon. Very soon, should be. Maybe even tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see. All right, Swashbuckler. This was normally in Xanathar's. Panache has been redesigned to apply its effects through Cunning Strike. Dashing Strikes replaces Elegant Maneuver and gives you additional Cunning Strike options. Master Duelist has been redesigned to allow you to make an additional attack provided you meet the requirements. All right. Fancy Footwork. You've already had to land a strike and slip away without reprisal. If you make a melee attack against a creature during your turn, that creature can't make opportunity attacks against you for the rest of that turn. Rakish Audacity. When you roll initiative, you can give yourself a bonus to the roll equal to your charisma modifier. You also get an additional way to use your sneak attack. You don't need advantage on the attack rolls to use your sneak attack against a creature if you are within 5 feet of it. No other creatures are within 5 feet of you. And you don't have disadvantage on the attack roll. All right. Clarified there better. So Panache, 9th level. Cutting Strike options also include Goad. That's pretty cool. And Awe. That's a very fun feature. Like, see, for example, look how cool this is, Panache is, versus the infiltration expertise. This kind of restricts you to, a certain style of play versus this cool ability that gives you extra really cool stuff. That's a very good example of what I'm talking about with the different power levels of each one of their the subclass features. 13th level Dashing Strikes. You practice new ways to use your sneak attack for your Cunning Strike options. Parrying Stance. Roll die 6 until the start of next turn. You get a bonus AC Oh, wow, that's pretty cool. I don't know if that should cost 2d6 of your sneak attack. Invigorate's pretty cool. That I could see costing 2d6 because you're giving it to someone else. That I could see that being reduced just down to 1d6 because you're taking 1d6 away from your sneak attack and then using that extra to add to your AC. And then Master Duelist, immediately after you use your sneak attack, you can make another attack against the same target provided you're within 5 feet of it and no other creatures are within 5 feet of you. Basically, kind of like your panache. All right, very cool. Interesting stuff. Like I said, again, just trying to balance the 9th level features of all the 9th level features. I mean, the Assassin's okay, it's cool, but really relies on role playing for more for a social encounters than anything with exploration or combat. When we talk about the pillars of play. All right, Rogue, Thief, my favorite subclass. Let's see what the changes are. Fast Hands now lets you take the use object action instead of the search action. It also lets you use the magic action to activate a magic item. Ooh. Oh, whoa. I do like the use the object action because you can use your fast hands to like revive a downed companion with a healing potion, something like that. But now you can even use it to activate a magic item. Second story of work now lets you move along ceilings without an ability check, and it causes you to use your dexterity, not strength, for jumping. So now you can move, instead of just having a climb speed, you now have a climb speed and you can move. It's like spider climb. Interesting. Supreme Sneak is functionality. You can sacrifice a sneak attack die to remain hidden when you attack. Ooh. And Thief's Reflex has been restored to its 2014 functionality. All right. So as a bonus action, you do one of the following. Fast Hands. Sleight of hand, make a dexterity sleight of hand check to pick a lock or disarm a trap with thieves' tools, or pick a pocket. Use an object. Take the use an object action, or take the magic action to use a magic item that requires that action. The new second story works. Train to reach especially hard to reach places. Get your climb speed equal to your speed. Return, you can move on a ceiling without making an ability check, provided that there's at least one handhold during the move. But you fall if you end the turn there without a handhold. Okay, that's pretty interesting. Makes your immovable rods really, really cool. Using the magic action to activate your immovable rod. Jump distance determined by your dex rather than your strength. Supreme Sneak. Now see, for example, the 9th level one over here, the parry stance costs you 2d6. This one over here only costs you 1d6. That's really, really cool. See, this would be something more for the assassin. Like, that would be the Supreme Sneak. That would fit perfectly as the 9th level ability for the assassin. I mean, that I could see this being moved over to the assassin, and then reworking the 9th level ability for the thief, because of the fact that the stealth attack is not in the vein of what the thief is supposed to be doing. Something where they would be able to retreat out of combat, where they could retreat from somewhere and then use the hide or something as part of that, where they wouldn't get attacks of opportunity against them because they're doing something like the Supreme Sneak is more about sneaking away or getting out of being caught, or getting out of a combat situation, and then moving the stealth attack over to the assassin. As the assassin, the whole point of the assassin is to attack stealthily. And that would be way cooler on the assassin instead of their 9th level ability they have right now. All right, 13th level, use magic device. Tune up to 4 magic items. Whenever you use a magic item property that expends charges, roll a die 6. On a roll of 6, you use the property without expending the charges. You can use any spell scroll using intelligence as your spellcasting ability for the spell. If the spell is a cantrip or a first level spell, you can cast it reliably. If the scroll contains a higher level spell, you must first succeed on an intelligence arcana check with a DC equal to 10 plus the spell's level. On a successful check, you can cast the spell from the scroll. On a failed check, the scroll disintegrates. I know they kept this in the Thief because that was, since first edition, since AD&D, that's been a Thief's ability, one of the Thief abilities. I could see changing the scrolls over to and adjusting it a little bit and over to the Arcane Trickster, because you would still be relying on your prepared spells, and of course the stuff from the Arcane, but then since you have this Spell Thief ability, you should be able to cast, this would be more suited for the Arcane Trickster, and then allowing the Use Magic Device, because I believe the Use Magic Device was very similar to the Artificer's ability, that you ignored attunement things for classes, for class or race, or I guess in the new version species. You would ignore those. So like you could attune to a wand of fireballs, usually like requires to be a spellcaster to attune to it. Well, 3 flexes. You're adept at laying ambushes and quickly escaping danger. You can take 2 turns during the first round of any combat. You take your first turn at your normal initiative and your second at your initiative minus 10. Yeah. Very cool. All right. So that was the rogues. Let me see here. These are all the spells again. Before we dig into those, I'm just going to look to see. It didn't look like I have any other classes, and the rogues were the last ones. Oh, I'm too high. All right. Probably hear my familiar. She's woken up. All right, so let's go on back down here then and check out some of the spells. We've got about 12 minutes or so remaining in the stream. The Arcane, Divine, and Primal lists, the spell lists, Xanathar's Guide to Everything spell, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything spell, and Changed School of Magic. Changes the last playtest version. Elementalism, Frostbite, Mind Sliver, Thunderclap, and Toll the Dead have been added. Still think Toll the Dead is one of the most awesome cantrips that they've come out with. Dissonant Whispers returned to the list. Another great first level spell. I love that. I love that. Hex should always be just for warlocks. I wonder. And then Eldritch Blast is only for warlocks as well. See anything change schools in the cantrips list? Yes, Dancing Lights is Wood to Illusion. Yeah. Should be. Armor of Agathis. With the way that they're setting up the list too, it's going to have a lot because of the fact that you had like your wizard list, your bard list, your warlock list, your sorcerer list, all that stuff like that. You're definitely going to have some classes that are going to have access to spells that they might not have had access to in the old version of 5th edition, which is going to be cool. Gladys Deafness is now transmutation. I really would like to see them update Witchbolt a little bit. I believe, if I recall, Witchbolt, let me double check, because I think the problem with Witchbolt is that they get a save, I think. Go to my D&D Beyond. Down here to Witchbolt. Yeah, it'd be nice if they change Wishbolt around a little bit to make it a little bit more accessible to where, like, for example, I always thought Witchbolt would be good is that you basically pull up your crackling lightning, and as long as you're concentrating on it, every turn you just make another attack against a creature that's within your range. But yeah, that's interesting. They did mention moving Flaming Sphere to Evocation, which is great. What would really be interesting is for them to break back an older version of what Counterspell basically does. Is obviously Counterspell is a great all-around spell to have, but sometimes characters just don't prep it because they might say want a fireball or a fly, or something like a haste to help out. Like your paladin or your fighter or your barbarian or something. I would really like to see them implement one of the older rules for countering spells. Is that, say for example, you're going to counter a spell and you have lightning bolt prepared, and the opposing wizard's getting ready to cast a lightning bolt at you, that you can expend a spell slot of lightning bolt to kind of, because you know the magics of casting a lightning bolt, that you can use that spell slot because you have lightning bolt prepared to be able to counter their lightning bolt. That'd be something fun to add into the mix again, maybe even as a variant rule. So yeah, let's go ahead and get through the spell lists. I got our divine spell list. Fine Seed's been removed. It's now a paladin exclusive spell, which is great. Remove the smite list. The smite spells except for Searing Smite and Wrathful Smite. Till the Dead Word of Radiance. Primal spells. Added elementals of Frostbite and Thunderclap. Those markers have been removed. Now range exclusive spell. Perfect. Yep, Conjure Barrage and Conjure Volley. Completely understandable there. And the spell descriptions. We're going to go ahead and stop right here. We're on page 62. I'm going to mark that down for next week. And we will go through the spell descriptions and the glossary of terms and double check some of those. And hopefully we'll have some more playtest material coming out to discuss. So yeah, that's going to be it for discussions today. Really, really cool stuff. I could see some inconsistencies with some of the certain level features from the different subclasses, but overall, I mean, the rogue looks pretty interesting. Definitely the hunter. I love that. But yeah. Pretty cool stuff. Like I said, if you want to play test it, check it out on D&D Beyond. They also have it on the Wizards web site for D&D, and of course in our Master of Dungeons community Discord server. But yes, thanks, of course, to all of our supporters, especially our patrons from Patreon. If you'd like to help support the channel, please consider becoming a patron or subbing here on Twitch, twitch.tv/themasterofdungeons. We'd also love your Prime subs. If you have Amazon Prime, you can link that to your Twitch account, and you get a free month, a free sub every month. If you're we'd love to have your Prime subs if you're out there. Also, the link to our Patreon page, as well as our YouTube channel and all of our other social media accounts, can be found in the About Us section below here on Twitch. If you would subscribe to us on YouTube, like or at least comment on the videos. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Give us likes, retweets, all of that good stuff. Every sub, like, and share helps us immensely. As I mentioned before, you can also join the Master of Dungeons community Discord server by clicking on the About Us section below here on Twitch, clicking on the Discord panel where you can invite and join the community where you can help shape an accepting, caring, and inclusive community. Our merch store is also live as well. We have a number of t-shirts on there. So I think that we've got a hoodie on there as well, some glassware, ball caps, things like that. And of course, tips are always welcome, but not expected. We will be back tomorrow from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. for Dungeon Delving. We're going to try to start playing some Baldur's Gate 3 for our Dungeon Delving streams. We will not have a Dungeon Delving stream on Friday, as this weekend is the virtual D&D weekend. Partner with Baldwin Games and Wizards of the Coast, where we will be running Adventurers League adventures online all weekend. I've got games 2 and 7 on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We will be streaming our 7 p.m. game on Sunday. We'll be playing The Consequences of Choice, a Tier 3 adventure from the Adventurers League season from Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus. The characters are going to be in Avernus, the first layer of the Nine Hells. So definitely check that out from 7 to probably around 10:30ish. We normally do our live stream games from 7 to 10. This one will probably go over a little bit, as the adventures are usually about 3.5 to 4 hours long. And we will stream at least most of the adventure, and then when we go to do our clerical stuff at the end of it, we will say goodbye before we do all that. But again, thanks for watching. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. And if not, have a great weekend. As always, happy adventuring. Take care.